Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report Prime Time, episode number 813. We are back. Damian Nelson sitting alongside one David Hero.
Hey, are you feeling better?
Am I feeling better? I am.
That's what you just have to tell yourself, and I've done this many a times. It's just money. You can always make more. You can't get back time that's lost.
Yeah, and remember when you got in trouble last time? You tried to just always make more money, and the Secret Service showed up in your basement and took all your equipment. Do you remember that? You don't just make more. We talked about it yesterday. I am done with it. I am not addressing this anymore. Both you and Linda have been removed from any and all PWR business ventures, credit cards, accounts, everything, because you're thieves. You're thieves who can't be trusted. And you, my friend, should feel ashamed of yourself for that.
Because I'm tan.
Folks, it's prime time. We are back after some 4-week absence. We appreciate your patience. Well, this one was in Jamaica at a hedonism event with Linda.
It was hedonism. Linda was the ism.
Folks, this show is going to be all about all that has happened over the course of the last few weeks in professional wrestling. We've got a lot to catch up on, so let's get right down to it with this week's and this month's, I guess you can call it, hot news. And our first bullet point, David Heroes, we're going to go back to this past Monday night on WWE Raw, where we saw the big reveal, the big announcement by Kurt Angle of the career-altering and life-altering news that he had been hiding for some time, along with his friend Corey Graves. We would find that no, it was not a salacious affair. It was a mistake in college that led to the birth of a son, an illegitimate son, I guess you can call it.
Call him a mistake. That's mean.
Who ended up being adopted and trained as a professional wrestler and made his way into the WWE. And the reveal would be that Kurt Angle's son is one Jason Jordan, one half of the American Alphas.
But now defunct American Alpha.
Team is split up. Gable remains on SmackDown. We would hear from him Tuesday night in what was an interesting interview with Renee Young.
He didn't seem that distraught, did he?
He did not seem that distraught at all, but there's some holes in all this logic.
He 205 Live.
There's some holes in all this logic, but I wanted to get your take initially on not only the fact that Jordan is now Angle's son, but also the fact that one of the greatest tag teams in the company, the American Alpha, is now split.
I find it very interesting that they needed to bring Jason Jordan to Raw. When you already have Lesnar and Strowman and Reigns and Rollins and Bray Wyatt and Samoa Joe and Dean Ambrose and The Miz and the Hardys and Sheamus and the Club and the 305 Live, 205 Live guys, now you're going to bring in a mid-carder, Kurt Angle's kid, and now try to make him, the circle piece and the square peg. I don't know how that's going to work.
A lot of people were less than enthused about this news on Monday night. I, for one, looked at it and said, well, there's got to be an end game, a destination, if you will, from where we are going. And I don't know what that is, so I don't think I care any less about Jason Jordan than I did before this. I care more about him now, but I'm not invested in the story. But I am intrigued to see where this goes. Where do you think that final destination is for this story with Kurt and his newfound son?
Well, I think he's definitely going to start off going after the Intercontinental Championship. And maybe he's going to try to replicate what his father did. I mean, there's no European title to go after. Mm-hmm. So you can go after the Intercontinental, maybe find a tag partner. But then, there's also part of me that wonders, is this a political thing?
How so?
Well, with the exception of Apollo Crews, how many black superstars are on the Raw roster?
Is he black? Is Jordan black? Because I hadn't noticed.
Why? Because his father's white?
From what I understand, his father's white.
Okay, well, then he's
his biological father. Wait a minute. What are they saying about Kurt? Is there a little bit of a due to real life of the past Kurt Angle here?
If you think about it, do you watch Drive Along or whatever show that is on the network?
No.
Kurt Angle did a drive along with Mark Henry, Sexual Chocolate.
Okay.
So maybe they were comparing notes.
What do you mean comparing notes?
Well, I mean, Mark Henry was the sexual deviant in the WWE during the Attitude Era. Mm-hmm. Mae Young and everybody else, and Kurt Angle. I mean, it's Kurt Angle. He's the Olympic gold medalist. He was doing a lot of bridging back in the day.
Do you like it? And will the company suffer without the alphas?
No, they won't suffer without. No, you know why the company won't suffer without the alphas?
Why won't they?
Because they haven't suffered without CM Punk. They haven't suffered without Daniel Bryan. They haven't suffered without Hulk Hogan. They haven't suffered without Steve Austin. Certain guys that have gone away. There's always others. And right now on SmackDown, the tag team, mess you got with the Usos and the New Day is going to keep the tag teams busy for a while. And then you got, Breezango, who does more skits than wrestling. You know what I mean? So they'll be fine. I mean, obviously they feel that Gable and Jordan can be successful on their own. I just think it's interesting that they pulled the plug so quick on American Alpha.
It's really, really fast, it seems. So the latest pay-per-view offering we had was a couple of weeks ago. It was WWE's Great Balls of Fire. I, for one, actually thought it was one of the more solid pay-per-view efforts in the last 12 months.
If you didn't like it, there's something wrong with you.
It was a good show top to bottom. Two big things coming out of that show, though, and that was Brock Lesnar defeating Samoa Joe and retaining the WWE Championship on the Raw side of things. 6 minutes, 34 seconds, I believe.
It was a stiff match. It wasn't pretty.
Oh, God. Yeah.
It wasn't pretty at all, but they both did good business. And people complain, he beat Joe with one F5.
Sure he did.
Okay.
He's Brock Lesnar.
We all complain guys kick out of finishes. The one time the guy doesn't, now you're burying him. But you beat him with the finish.
But until that finish, tell us more about your perspective on the match.
Joe was going after Lesnar. Joe was giving Lesnar everything he could handle.
Successfully.
And Lesnar sold for him.
Yep.
Again, say what you want about Brock Lesnar. When he shows up, he does good business. He makes sure his opponent looks like he means something. And that's exactly what he did with Samoa Joe. He was in jeopardy with Joe a few times, and then eventually Brock, got the big F5, and he got the victory.
What did this match do for Samoa Joe, if anything?
It made him a main event top guy.
How so?
Because it just shows he can hang with the beast. The TNA stink is off of Samoa Joe right now.
I'm not sure there was ever any stink.
Oh, there's always stink on TNA guys when they come over.
That's what you say.
Am I wrong?
Prove that you're right.
How long was Joe in NXT for?
About a year and a half, maybe?
Yeah.
And the problem with that, Finn Balor was there as well. I don't remember him being in TNA.
They scrubbed him off. Okay? AJ Styles was in Japan for 2.5 years, 2 years.
And that was WWE scrubbing him off as well?
Yeah. Who else? No, not really, because he wasn't in TNA. But who else from,
which makes your argument invalid.
Who from TNA has come over and become stars? And don't say the Hardys, because the Hardys were WWE products before they went to TNA. Nobody. They're all still in NXT right now. Bobby Roode.
Is there a problem
Eric
with
Young.
that? What's the problem with that? NXT needs stars too.
Right, but they're not going to bring TNA guys over and put them on the main roster immediately. It doesn't happen like that.
So Maria Kanellis and Mike Bennett, I believe they came right over from TNA.
They've been off TV since January.
Whew. Sometimes I feel like I'm talking to that man who illegally runs this country when I'm talking to you.
The Rothschilds?
Also at Great Balls of Fire, Braun Strowman gets a win over Roman Reigns, shoving him into the back of the ambulance in that ambulance matchup.
Braun Strowman is the MVP of Monday Night Raw. Hands down.
How so?
He is the guy that people are tuning in to see. He is dominating. He is cheered. He's a beast.
This past Monday night on Raw, he cleaned house at the end of the broadcast.
He did. He dominated. Two badasses. The Samoan submission machine and the guy. He made them look like redheaded stepkids. I thought I was watching Little Orphan Annie for a while there.
Which version? The latest or the 1980?
The 80s. Version? Come on. I said the redheaded stepchild.
Of course you wouldn't like the newest version.
I didn't understand it. It made no sense. Too much singing. But if Brock Lesnar is going to drop that Universal Championship, I wanted something else to talk about before I forget about that. I'm probably going to go off script here, but that's okay. It has to be to Braun Strowman, because Braun Strowman is the only guy that can truly beat Brock Lesnar right now. Can we talk about the Universal title?
Yes.
Finn Balor.
Yes.
And I sent
the endorsed Finn Balor.
And I sent this tweet out on Monday.
Which means what?
No, I was watching Raw. I was giving the people what they want, insight and knowledge, okay? And I'm watching Finn Balor struggle with Elias Sampson. Struggle. He can barely beat this Joker.
Isn't that called selling? Isn't that called helping Elias Sampson get to a place where he's got credibility notability on the card?
He is the former Universal Champ. He came into the company and he beat Roman Reigns on his first night. He beat Seth Rollins. Everyone's like, put him in the ring with Brock Lesnar. If he can't get past a guy swinging a guitar, how's he going to get past Suplex City?
So what do you say about a Jeff Jarrett and a Honky Tonk Man? They swing guitars as well.
Yeah, but they were also...
One was the longest reigning Intercontinental champion of all time. The other basically beat Vince McMahon in his own game. And is the only man to have done it. In the last month that he's been on roster, no.
But I'm just saying, you're now saying he's as tough as Brock Lesnar.
What you're doing is now saying, what you are doing is now saying is that Finn Balor is a cruiserweight and that you don't believe he should be on the main roster because you have this deep-seated, somehow or another, unfounded hatred for Finn Balor.
He sells a ton of merchandise, by all means. But he's having a hard time getting by Elias Sampson.
So how should the match have gone?
He should be beating this guy. He should not be in a program with
Even
Elias
with a gash
Sampson.
in his head.
He should not be in a program with Elias Sampson. If he's going to struggle with somebody, struggle with Bray Wyatt, struggle with Samoa Joe, not with some guy that was just called up from NXT. You know deep down in your dark heart I'm right.
What would give you the impression my heart was dark?
Because you've been very angry lately.
Oh, what would you do? What would you do? What would you do if you got a bill in the mail from some shenanigans of Cal for $29,072?
I would tell Cal he needs to start selling pizzas and chocolate bars.
Mr. Z's?
Sure. But bro, I mean, come on.
Are you done?
You know,
burying Finn Balor, attempting to bury Finn Balor. What are you going to do when he raises to dominance again in WWE on the Raw brand? Because he will. I didn't say that. I said raises to dominance again.
He will never beat Brock Lesnar. He will never get in the ring with Brock Lesnar. You can't do that to him. That's child abuse.
You said The Miz would never be WWE champion. He has since been and is now one of the greatest performers in professional wrestling today.
The Miz and John Cena are average builds. They're comparable.
What?
They're not 150 pounds apart.
There we go. There it was, ladies and gentlemen. His hatred for Finn Balor because you are a weightist. You're a weightist. That's what you are. You don't like people who are under 206 pounds. You are a weightist.
No, I do like. I have no problem with Jack Gallagher and.
Folks, earlier this week, actually just yesterday, some scary news for WWE, especially the McMahon family, as Shane McMahon was in a helicopter crash. Yes, indeed, it was a crash landing into the Atlantic Ocean. Shane, of course, came out unscathed, which, of course, is a blessing for him, but I'm not necessarily surprised. Maybe when he got to a certain level, about 20 feet, he did. I don't know.
I would have.
You got those blades to worry about. They're still spinning when you're coming down.
They're going to hit you regardless.
Haven't you seen it in the movies when you might survive the crash, but it's the blades that get you.
The blades always get you.
Shane survives. Real good news because it could have ended very tragically for Shane McMahon.
Imagine what a disaster that would have been. Mm-hmm. Everybody on Facebook would be crying like they knew him.
Folks, big return occurred in our absence as well, and that would be to the NXT brand. And back in the WWE family and the broadcast family, if you will, is Mauro Ranallo, who is now the lead announcer for NXT. And he's also the man who's going to be calling the big fight between Conor McGregor and Floyd Mayweather later on this year.
But let's be honest, NXT is a niche audience. It's the Smart Mark fans that know more than all of us, and they loved Mauro. So give the fans what they want.
You didn't like Mauro?
He was fantastic. I loved him.
So why did you just demean our fans, our viewers, our watchers, our listeners?
Twitter and social media complaining to fire JBL over it. You know what it is? I just say what's on my mind. You just keep everything in.
There is, aside from calling you names I can't say on television here in Milwaukee, in this segment, there's nothing I have not said that I wanted to say. I am still incredibly pissed at you. I am still incredibly disappointed in you. I am still incredibly disrespected by you. I have made you what you are. I have made you what you are. I have given you the chance to perform well at hedonism events, and you have squandered it.
You taught me how to perform at a hedonism event?
I said I have given you the means by which to.
It was a vacation. It was couples therapy.
Folks, we're going to take a time out. When we come back, more hot news, including discussion on Ring of Honor, brand new champion, another big tag team split, some departures from WWE, and also Impact Wrestling, TNA at least, is no more. We'll be back in just a moment.
Collar and elbow bouts usually began as a contest of balance. The opening position or stance featured the hand and arm positioning which gave the wrestling style its name. Contestants faced one another, each placing one hand on his adversary's shoulder and gripping his adversary's forearm with his other hand. This establishes the opening box, prevents bull-like rushes or throat grabs, minimizes disadvantages in height or arm's reach, and prevents deft footwork. Here, the champion squares off with the challenger. Each holds the stance until his opponent forces or permits him to break.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Pro Wrestling Report.
It is prime time.
It is prime time.
You know, you need to get rid of that receipt. It haunts you. It's just paper.
Here's the part you may not fully understand, young man. Somebody's got to pay this bill. I literally have a right lobe headache right now because of the stress that you have caused me upon receiving this bill. What is the due date on that bill from American Express, David Hero? It's on top.
What is today's date?
Today is the 20th.
You got 7 days.
To come up with $29,049.72.
Home equity loans.
As far as I knew, there was not a single charge on that card this month. And I assume you got a prescription of some sort.
No, I didn't.
Is that how you hurt your hand? Too much action down there at the hedonism
This was
event?
from a rope, actually, around my wrist.
Folks, let's get back to the hot news in professional wrestling. Damian Nelson sitting alongside David Hero, and I am shooting when I talk about this headache because it hurts. My head hurts because of you.
You know what? I would dispute the CVS thing. I would never spend $83 at a pharmacy.
Folks, brand new Ring of Honor champion has been crowned recently, and congratulations to the endorsed Cody Rhodes, who is now, for the first time, world champion. He is champion of Ring of Honor Wrestling. Big accomplishment for Cody.
Christopher Daniels.
Absolutely.
The other first-time world champion.
A 24-year journey ends at the hands of the American Nightmare.
How about Cody Rhodes? He's done pretty well since he left.
Yes, you had an opportunity to talk to Cody Rhodes a couple of weeks back down near the Chicago area.
Yeah,
Care to share with the audience any insight from that conversation?
He's doing great. He loves what he's doing. There's other opportunities coming up. He's going to be on Arrow again with Stephen Amell in the fall, and he's very excited about that. He'll be doing some Comic-Cons, and it was a good conversation. Him and I buried our differences that you tried to blow out of proportion.
No, you buried your differences from you trying to bury him.
No, I didn't.
I didn't blow anything out of proportion. I endorsed him because I recognize good talent, no matter their weight, race, sex, or religion.
No, and we talked about it, and I says, Cody, what you got to understand is you were being used poorly. You were out there doing jobs every night.
He is now the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Champion, ladies and gentlemen. And more special programming from Ring of Honor coming to Fight TV. That's F-I-T-E, fight.tv. You can get the app on your mobile device.
So we're back on Fight.
We are back on Fight again this week.
We are?
Well, we may have to do some additional programming to generate some additional revenues to generate about $29,049.72.
Don't be mad at Linda.
I'm not mad at either of you. I'm pissed off at both of you. There's a difference. I'm incensed.
But aren't you glad that there's harmony?
I don't want to talk about it. It's just stop. Every time
was
it's
really
moving to
cute,
the
too.
left lobe.
Harmony
It's
was
moving
gorgeous.
to the left lobe. Folks, also, long drawn-out story got us to a destination I didn't expect it to get us to, and that was the separation of Enzo and Cass on the Raw brand a couple of weeks back. It would be revealed that
broken up.
Enzo had been being attacked by his former partner Cass. Now they are out on their own, still working against each other, but the Big Show involved in this story too. And I think it's obvious what we're seeing here, some development of Cass, making him better by working with the veteran Big Show, but I wonder where this leaves Enzo in all of this. And not, I hope, again, with a 20-minute excruciating promo as he did this past Monday night on Raw. He was great. Let me rephrase that. He was great. He is great on the microphone, great on television. I'm just sick of him.
Here's the thing with Enzo. He can't physically compete to tell a story with Big Cass.
Waitses.
He can't. He's 7 feet tall. Enzo, he can spike his hair up as tall as he wants. He's barely 6'4". Okay? The thing is that he needs to talk to get over right now because he's going to get his ass handed to him weekly by Big Cass.
How much longer, though? I'm done with it already.
You know what? What I would do, I would send Enzo to 205 Live. He would be great there. He's a great... Can you imagine Neville against Enzo? I think that would be highly entertaining.
Wouldn't be a bad match.
See? So don't think I'm just because he's under a certain weight.
That's exactly what you just did. That's exactly what you know. That's what you did. It's exactly what you did.
Looking at the bigger picture
of the smaller guy.
You need to liven up 205 Live.
Why? Is it going to make you watch it if Enzo's on it? Are you going to tune into it weekly on the WWE Network if Enzo's on it?
When on the pay-per-view, when it's Neville against Enzo, I'm not going to. I'll watch that.
No more purple ropes this past Monday night on Raw.
I wasn't paying that close attention. Why not?
Gentleman Jack pointed that out on Twitter.
What did he say?
And endorsed Gentleman Jack.
I like
Gallagher.
Gentleman Jack.
He said he returns and the red ropes stay, so it must mean something good.
Be, because keep that for your TV show. How about Arya Daivari?
How about him?
He had a great Monday night.
He did.
He did.
Would you have split Enzo and Cass up at this point?
Not a chance.
Why do you think we so aggressively move towards that goal?
I think there's heat on Enzo.
Why do you say that?
He can rub people the wrong way.
Is that right?
Yeah. I mean, you don't need Big Cass. I mean, unless... Well, I mean, there's rumors that Mark Henry is retiring and Big Show...
God, when's the last time you've seen Mark Henry?
On the Dinner for Three on the network.
No, on a wrestling show.
I do my
on
research.
A wrestling. You watched that episode? I'm really surprised, actually, that you watched that one.
Why?
So...
It was all about the nation.
It was... it's been a long time since we've seen Mark Henry in competition.
But what giants have they got left? Kane's gone. You have Braun Strowman, but he's busy with top guys. Okay, he's not going to go into a program with Big Cass. And Big Show needs to pass on his knowledge that was bestowed upon him by Taker and Kane and others to somebody else.
Speaking of 205 Live, ladies and gentlemen, as David was just a moment ago, one of its superstars, a cruiserweight, is gone from the company. Austin Aries and WWE parted ways just about a week ago. Bit of a surprise departure, as Austin Aries had been a prominent figure, and he had just come back a couple of months back from that orbital bone injury, now gone and a free agent.
He was featured a ton on Raw. He was doing guest commentary, goes to WrestleMania, gets 2 rematches in the next 2 months. And then when the babyface loses a submission match, you know it's not going to end well. And that's what happened to Austin Aries. But he's got his vegan cookbook out, I think, his no-meat cookbook. What's it called?
I forget.
Food Fight.
Something like that.
He'll be doing the tour. He got a new look, shaved his head. I thought he was Pitbull when I saw his picture. I mean, from 205 Live to 305 Live, I was like, whoa, how about that?
Hotel, Motel, Holiday Inn.
Yeah, and, but Austin Aries always does what Austin Aries wants.
And it's worked for him.
He beats to his own drum, and he will be successful no matter where he ends up.
And we do wish Austin Aries the best of luck, of course. Another bit of WWE news and a bit of a controversial news, and depends on which report you listen to as to why, but the post-SmackDown Talking Smack show that had aired on the WWE Network and had become notable for its unscripted approach to Talking Smack has been canceled. Canceled reportedly by Vince McMahon himself due to its unscripted nature, and didn't feel, this of course according to the Wrestling Observer newsletter, did not feel that the product matched his vision for the brand. Now, Talking Smack will continue after SmackDown pay-per-view events, just like Raw Talk, but this was probably their best pre-show effort on the WWE Network, and it had some notable moments. Daniel Bryan and The Miz and Dean Ambrose and lots of things going on there. I'm surprised they walk away from this show.
Sometimes you lose today to win tomorrow.
Now, keep in mind, too, some are saying perhaps the show was not as notable because of its move to after 205 Live. Once that show was introduced,
were tired.
That is 1, 2, 3, 4 hours of wrestling, one more than Monday nights. You're absolutely right. It was Talking Smack seemingly only works immediately following as a follow-up to the show, not a recap an hour after the show has gone. So, are you going to miss it?
I really never watched it. Are you?
But you watch 205 Live. I mean,
No,
you're
I
so
don't.
passionate about that brand. I thought maybe you tuned in each week.
I stopped watching that because I can't. I can't connect with any of those guys. I can't do flips.
Folks, TNA Wrestling is no more, as TNA, as parent company Anthem Sports and Entertainment, has announced that the company will now be known as GFW, Global Force Wrestling. For those of you who know, Global Force Wrestling was launched a couple of years ago by Jeff and Karen Jarrett as a brand new wrestling organization that ultimately only ended up running a few bought shows and also had done some TV tapings that never made air, but they owned the brand.
It was brilliant. They had to.
One of the long-lasting criticisms of TNA was its name, TNA, and its association with TNA.
No, but the
boobies and butts.
The TNA brand sucked. It was so battered and bruised.
Mm-hmm.
They had to rebrand the company. And here's what's so brilliant about Jeff Jarrett. He had someone buy Impact, okay, for him to run.
Basically.
To then have that same person buy the Global Force Wrestling brand from him to replace the company he just was running again.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome.
Awesome, and it was the simple answer too, though, in defense of not saying Jeff Jarrett was attempting to manipulate this at all. But if you want to change your name, why not use a name you own already?
I agree.
But were they TNA or were they Impact Wrestling?
They already had the belts made,
and there were champions that had been crowned.
The logo was done
as well. Yes, but there was some fallout in that transition from TNA to Global Force Wrestling, and two people are now gone from the company. Two veterans, three.
You know, Pat Kenny, Al Snow, Shane Helms.
Mm-hmm. All
three friends of mine. It's no secret. Al's, one of my closest and best friends. I was at his wedding. You didn't want to go.
I couldn't make it.
And I get it. You bring your own. The victor goes to spoils, right? That's what they always say.
Yeah.
So you bring in Sanjay Dutt. You bring in Scott D'Amore. You have Dutch Mantel. Those are the agents. Those are now the producers. I get it.
Here's my question, though, David Hero. And Impact Wrestling has seen. GFW rather has seen ratings increases over the last 2 weeks since the rebranding to GFW since Slammiversary. So they're up near the 400,000 a week viewer range. There was 375 last week to be specific. When has there ever been an instance where there has been long-term sustained success by bringing in the old team? It didn't work when they tried to go head-to-head with WWE Raw, did TNA. WWE, when they brought back Vince Russo for that brief period of time that he came back after leaving, going to WCW, that didn't work. Vince Russo going back to WCW, Eric Bischoff going back to WCW, none of it worked. It always seems like people go back to the well, and it's a great well to go to, but it never seems to turn out to equal long-term success. Which is why, smartly, WWE has not reattempted the what era?
Attitude. Well, they can't. They never can.
If they could, though, they probably still wouldn't.
Because you can't catch lightning in the bottle like that.
Mm-hmm.
But let's be honest, TNA is a PR nightmare.
Well, especially now that their champion is suspended for an investigation pertaining to domestic violence. Alberto El Patron.
He hasn't been charged with anything.
Apparently, his girlfriend, Paige, actually is going to be the one who may be facing charges of domestic battery after an incident at the Orlando airport. She is British. Her family also owns a wrestling company. They have stripped him of that title. So her family's company has stripped him of the title. But what wasn't mutual was what Paige's brother put on Facebook about Alberto El Patron.
And he pretty much buried ADR, calling him...
Made accusations that are not proven at this point. No. But there's some turmoil in that relationship.
That's the beauty of social media. You can say and be whoever you want to be.
I guess you can be. Well, that is this week's catch-up, if you will, hot news.
Did you read the stuff that Paige's brothers talked about?
I read the post.
Talked about, what's that, Brad Maddox referenced him.
Having taken advantage of her.
18-year-old
Looked
girl.
like, well, he may have in the videos I saw.
I think she was taking advantage of everybody in that video.
DWHS, please.
Oh, finally, my segment is back.
Yes, and we have 48 seconds.
Well, I need more than that because it's simple. I've been watching the Attitude Era, Monday Night Wars, and the fans were amazing. They had Austin, NWO, The Rock, Mick Foley, Mankind, Dude Love, Cactus Jack, DX, Chris Jericho. The list of superstars was insane, and the fans would dress up like their favorite superstars. They'd be the NWO, they'd be Hollywood, they'd be Macho Man, Sting, whatever. Today's wrestling fans don't have the luxury of cheering for the cool superstars anymore. Because who really is the cool superstar? So I posted...
Well, you got Finn Balor, you got Sami Zayn, You've got Jack Gallagher. You've got The Miz.
Would you dress up as Jack Gallagher?
Absolutely. I would have got my umbrella in the car.
The Speedo on the umbrella.
Only certain people would be permitted to see that, but I would do it.
And it's just interesting when I posted it on my Facebook who today's fans wanted to be like. The Bullet Club. One guy said Bailey, which I was confused about.
Oh, well, not that there's anything wrong with that.
A couple said Chris Jericho, and a few said Nakamura.
Huh?
Yeah, exactly. I didn't get that either. And just like how it just shows how much the wrestling superstars have changed from being pop culture icons to now just being wrestling superstars. And for wrestling to get back on top again, you need some more pop culture icons. And with that, David Hero has spoken.
And that's this week's show, ladies and gentlemen. We'll be back with you tomorrow for a new edition of Feedback Friday, where we'll bring you Be the Booker for Sunday's Battleground pay-per-view.